So this is the kitchen sink motif, and it's a still life, and in the still life book. So we will get started with this by going and doing this vessel here and kind of laying the first layers out on this bowl that's in the kitchen here. And this is just the sand ridge all on its own in my woodland set, so you can find a little tan or a darker color for this bowl. It's up to you. You can use your creative license for how any of these would look. If you've got something similar to this in your kitchen, you want to add color versus the neutrals, then I would highly recommend it because you'll just love it with the unique look. And we'll come in here and do this one as well, just so we can get these layers going. Let's see, I left those kind of white in my original, so I'll do that here. And I've got these utensils here. I think I copied this from something online. I'm an interior designer by degree, and so I love painting little scenes and vignettes that companies, like I've mentioned before, like Crate and Barrel or Pottery Barn, might use to sell and use them as a subject for art because they're always set up so nicely by their photographers. Get this first layer in here. And I want to go back in this area with this like cutting board or charcuterie board here. And I'll come in and actually put a first layer that I will then go over later with varied colors. That way I'm covering up the white of the paper, and I'll use this background color as kind of my white or highlight color. And I did, in my example, do this cabinet in this sort of color. You could also make it kind of a grayish if you want to. And I'm painting these separately, leaving that line between them so I can get a little bit of the white of the paper in there. This is much more intense, so I want to match the pigments here, and it just kind of trails off, so we don't want a stark line here. And then this sink is white, so we'll come back in later and work on that. All right. So the next thing that I think I'll work on are these kind of subway type tiles in the background. I'm going to use this gray from here. You're welcome to use like a black, very watered down from your set. Just be careful you test it on a piece of paper, watch your line weight, and make sure you feel like your hand is good enough. These are short lines, but just make sure that you feel comfortable. I'm going to turn it this way so I can pull this toward myself without getting my hand in my paper. So I'm going to come along here. That's kind of dark, but I'll keep that for now. I'm going to do a few of these lines, seeing what I'm doing here. Dip in and just kind of have a few different line weights is actually going to be helpful overall, but not thickness. I'm going to try to keep it as consistent as I can. I'll go over that with green in a bit. So now I'm going to clear my brush off and just pull. I didn't do them all so that this is still a little wet and loose. And pulling that pigment off of that line, reducing the line weight. And actually, I don't want that gray in there. So this could still be white subway tile, but it's just going to have that light wash on it, and that gray could either be the grout or a shadow line. Okay, and then I've got these areas of shadow here. Already drew them in for you. I missed that tile there, so I'll go and get that in a second. And kind of put that and a little across there. Okay, so I think what I'll do at this point, since this is dry, I'm going to start working on these flowers, and they're kind of just white and green. So I'm going to come in here and do these stems. So I told you, you want to have a nice fine line and know that you can follow that line carefully. You're doing this like a marker, except very, very light-handed. And I think I want to do a light green to start with this and just dab in a little bit. And you can do your flowers a little pink or purple, whatever you want. This is pretty neutral, so I'm going to stick with that theme. And I think I'm just going to put my paper towel over this that's clean and just kind of pull that away to give it a nice little light look. Okay. All right, now I'm going to put a little bit of detail into this bowl here. It's easier to get a fine line when you just pull the minerals out of the box over here, as long as it's not too saturated already or lathered. too much, so if it gets a bubble at the end of the brush, it's gonna not be very thin and accurate. I'll come back over that a little bit with a little more. And I think this was like one of those little wiry sponges that you keep at the sink, so that's what this is. Okay, I'll leave some of this for later, and I'm going to come in here and put this rusty color across the bottom here. And I think in my original I had like a line across here. Just loosening up some of that paint. Getting that pigment into the body of this. I'm not going to mess with this line down here, but and it's a little wet, but I'm going to start putting a faint line in there and spread some of this pigment around. There we go. And now that that's dry a little bit, I'll take a clear brush and just fill in some of that white space. And we'll do our counter and then come back up there and do our cutting board after that's dry. So in our counter, although it's white, I'm going to give a little warm cast here. And you can put this down and add the shadow in afterward if you'd like, so it's the proper color. So we're just coming along there as a warm tone of light. And this is a little bit of a gray. Up to artistic license for sure. It's a farm sink here, so I'm going to get that shadow cast here. And oops. And now I'm going to add a little bit of water and pull some of this. It's a white sink, but it's got a nice shadow here. Now that got into that area, so we'll just pull that down. I want to kind of wait till these dry really to work next to each other. And let's get a little wooden knob here. You can make it gold if you want. And let's see. I could do kind of a, if that's dry enough, we'll come here, darker wood. And we'll take that same color and start popping that into our charcuterie board in a couple different places. And now I'll pop in some additional green into here. Now that that is dry. Over here, this has just kind of made this cool little texture, but I'm gonna take a clear brush and go over that, sort of take out some of those harder lines. Going to pull back some of the pigment here. You never want to rub your paper towel on your paper, it'll just wear it out. So and now I'll just, hopefully most of that is dry, and I'll just take a clear brush and very lightly, not go sideways, just up and down, and fill in some of those white areas. With my brush. And you're welcome to come in, like I was saying, you'd wait till this was dry, but you can come in with the micron pen and kind of pop some of the lines. I wouldn't do all of them. Right here where I kind of made a mess, be good.